All right, we'll get started with our regular meeting. All cell phones on silent or vibrate mode, please. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilor Edwards. Present. Councilor Allen. Present. Councilor Rook. Absent. Councilor Gomez. Here. Councilor Walsh. Here. Councilor Marcus Williams. Present. Present. Councilor Ash. Here. Councilor Twiggs. Present. Councilor Shea. Present. Councilor Fenton. Present. Councilor Hurst. Present. Councilor Bud Williams. Present. Councilor Ramos.
Present. Please rise and join me in a moment of silence. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag. All right, before we get started with our first item on the agenda, I have two requests for two of the items to be continued, and because we have folks here from Indian Orchard, I would like to take those items out of order without objection. There's a request to continue item number 3, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 3 is an application for a special permit for motor vehicle rentals at 12 Odessa Street.
I'll accept the motion to continue.
So moved.
Councilor Fenton. Seconded by Councilor Edwards. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 4, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 4 is a special permit to allow the installation of wireless telecommunication facilities at 375 Pasco Road.
Motion. Okay. Councilor Fenton has recused himself. I'll accept the motion to continue the matter. Made by Councilor Edwards, seconded by Councilor Ash. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Back to our regular agenda. Item number 1, Mr. Clerk.
The first item on tonight's agenda is a special permit for a wall sign at 759 Chestnut Street. The petitioner is Bay State Medical Center.
All right. Is there anyone for item number 1? This is a public hearing of the Springfield City Council. The petitioner will be given 20 minutes to make their presentation. Afterwards, anyone who would like to speak in opposition will be given 20 minutes to address the council. There will then be a 5-minute rebuttal for each side. I will leave the hearing open for councilors to ask questions at the conclusion of those two sides, and then we will close the hearing, and I will accept motions for amendments or After we close the public hearing, I'll accept any motions for amendments. All right. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Gary Stone. I'm one of the owners of Go Graphics in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. We've designed this sign for Bay State Medical Center, a new facility, a new building that they've constructed on their property. This is a sign that is not lit. There is no electrical work involved. It will be fabricated by our company, just made from 1/8-inch aluminum faces. We plan on installing this with 1.5-inch studs or returns that will go through the face of the building. We'll also seal it up with some silicone and make sure everything's secured. I think you all have a drawing of the size of this. We designed different options. We went big at first, and then we started to tone it down. We went a little bit smaller, but we realized that the sign was not visible as you turn into the street. So we came up with a sign that we hope is acceptable to the council this evening. And we are here to request a special permit so that we can move forward with the fabrication and with the installation of this sign at 759 Chestnut Street in Springfield.
Good evening, Council. My name is Rich Ribsky. I'm with Bay State Medical Center. I'm one of the managers in the engineering department, and I'm the project manager for the construction of this facility, which is our cogeneration combined heat and power plant that we've been lucky enough to get partially funded through collaborative federal and state grants with the city of Springfield. We're the subrecipients of that. So this is located, the address is 759 Chestnut Street, but it's actually, as you go down Pratt Street, it'll be directly ahead There used to be a house that was located there, and we relocated the house onto Pratt Street to make room for the facility. And this is our ability. This cogeneration facility is going to bring us into the next century, the next 50 years. Our power plant's over 50 years old. It's aging. We're basically going to generate 3/4 of the electricity that we need for the hospital, and the free byproduct of that is steam, which will produce most of the heat that we need for the hospital. So this sign is basically to identify the building to people that need to find it, but also to celebrate, what it is and what it means to us. It's a little bit different than some of the signage that Bay State has put up on other properties. We wanted it to look a little bit different and celebrate the green aspect of it.
Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe I attended the groundbreaking for this facility, and as I recall, there was a lot of enthusiasm for it, because of what you're going to be able to do, and the power you're going to be able to generate, and the progress you're going to make. But isn't this almost directly on Bay State's property?
It is, yes.
And it's back, right? Yeah.
It's attached to our existing
Right.
boiler plant, essentially, but
Yeah. So that really, where it's located, and if you put a sign up, I really don't think it would inconvenience a lot of people or be a distraction, because it's practically in the hospital. I mean,
part
it's
of the
so
hospital.
close. Yeah.
Agreed. yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I had the right building, but I think this will be a good thing to support.
Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the applicant for being here this evening, also for your commitment to the city and the neighborhood. I also was at that groundbreaking ceremony and share the enthusiasm for the project. With respect to the sign, I'm glad to hear that it's not internally lit. If there is one concern, it's how the sign may be externally lit. I know other signs on the property, there's quite a bit of light pollution in the surrounding area as a result of some of the floodlight style uplighting that they've used to highlight the signs, particularly for the Daly building and their cardiovascular facility. So I just would like to know, and I see that, I don't know that you are represented here this evening, but I'm wondering if any consideration has been given to the lighting of this sign on an external basis.
Very good question. We did consider it. We've chosen not to light it externally at all. We're just looking for daylight notification. There is some residential houses in the neighborhood, and we felt that lighting that externally would be obtrusive, so we decided not to.
And Mr. President, this is, I should have led with this information. This is in my district, and notification, because it is on the border of Councilor Gomez's district, notification was given, according to this analysis, to the New North Citizens Council as well as the Atwater Park Civic Association. We did have an opportunity in Atwater Park to discuss it, and because of the residential character of that neighborhood and the fact that this is a unique use to Marvin Street and Pratt Street, I've been asked to discuss and entertain the possibility of a condition of having this sign externally lit with gooseneck lighting on the facade itself. Is that something that you have the technical ability to accommodate if we did insert that type of condition?
We certainly could, sure. So the request is to light it.
With gooseneck lighting
Gooseneck lighting being mounted on the...
attached to the existing brick facade. So that basically the concern is that if in the future you have a change of heart and you'd like to light the sign in a different way, that it won't be lit in the same way that the Daly building and the cardiovascular unit is lit with a floodlight from the base.
So, understood.
So since there's no substantive objection in terms of, I should say technical objection from the petitioner, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to insert a new condition. So it'll be condition number 7. Applicant shall light the sign Yes, Mr. Glenn. So a suggestion has been made by my colleagues that it not be a requirement that the sign be lit, but that if you choose to light it, you do so with gooseneck lighting. The neighborhood would be amenable to that amendment. So my motion will read as follows for condition item number 7. If applicant is to light the sign, it shall only be done by virtue of gooseneck lighting mounted to the existing facade, the existing brick facade.
Motion made by Council Fuentes, seconded by Council Twiggs. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank
Is
you.
there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Please step forward. Say again, is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Please step forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Please step forward. Seeing none, are there any final questions for the petitioner? Before I close the public hearing, are there any final questions for the petitioner? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any final comments, motions, and/or amendments? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk, as amended.
On approving the amended petition, Councilor Edwards. Yes. Yes, Councilor Allen. Yes. Yes, Councilor Rook, absent. Councilor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Marcus Williams. Yes. Yes, Councilor Ash. Yes. Yes, Councilor Twiggs. Yes. Yes, Councilor Shea. Yes. Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Bud Williams. Yes, Councilor Ramos.
Yes. More than sufficient. Special permit is approved. Councilor Edwards on the reasons.
Specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. The use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. To incorporate the planning staff analysis into the decision as the basis of the findings.
All in favor of the reasons, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 2 is an application for a special permit for an accessory wall sign to be located on the first floor of the property known as 1259 East Columbus Avenue. The petitioner is Colvest.
20 minutes for the petitioner, 20 minutes for the opposition, 5-minute rebuttal for each side. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Frank Fitzgerald. I'm an attorney representing MGM. My office is at Monarch Place in Springfield. We're here to request approval of a sign on the Colvest building on East Columbus Avenue. By way of background, MGM has a need for a human resources training facility in anticipation of their opening, and they were fortunate to be able to find space in the Colvest building owned by Mr. Colacino, who's here to answer any questions you might have. And they've taken, I believe it's the third floor of the building, entire third floor of the building for this purpose. And in connection with that, they thought it would be appropriate that they identify their location, especially for people that will be coming in looking for jobs and looking for training. So that's the purpose of this sign. I'd like to introduce Craig Moore from Barlow Sign Company.
Good evening. Thank you. As mentioned, my name is Craig Moore. I'm with Barlow Signs, located in Hudson, New Hampshire. I'd be responsible for the design, fabrication, and installation of the letters. The letters would be located at 1259 East Columbus Ave.
Can you speak into the microphone, sir?
So the letters would be located above the second-story windows located at 12 East Columbus Ave. These are a set of 3 letters consistent with the MGM logo. It'd also be consistent with the current signage that's located on either side. The letters are LED illuminated, but they are backlit, which means it creates a glow off the back of the building, no direct light. Again, it's consistent. The logo itself is consistent and proportional to the existing signage that is on the building. We're seeking approval due to the restriction of signage above the first story. Be happy to answer any other questions.
Before we get to questions, is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Please step forward. Say again, if there's anyone else who would like to speak in favor, please step forward. Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Please step forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Please step forward. Seeing none. Questions from the council? Councilor Twiggs.
Mr. President, I rise to first get a clear understanding, and I wish Attorney Fitzgerald will come to the mic. Some time ago, Attorney Fitzgerald, we received information that you were going to do your training on the 8th floor of the existing casino building. Is this a new location?
No, this is not. This is in anticipation of, this is an additional location in anticipation of needing to get started before the 8th floor is completed.
Before the 8th floor is...
So that people have to be trained ahead of time, hired and trained ahead of time. So this is a need that's present, not in the future.
Okay, and it's the whole, you said it's the entire 3rd floor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. So does this mean it's just a temporary location, or?
It's for a period of years. It'll be there for a period of years. It'll be used after they're opened as well, but the lease has some duration to it.
Okay. And obviously, Colvest has no opposition to you being there, and all one great big happy family?
Renting the whole 3rd floor, I would guess not.
Mr. Allen.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. I've just got a couple questions relative to the overall sign strategy for MGM. We have approved, I believe, the whole signage for the front of the building towards Columbus Avenue and towards Route 91. And this wasn't part of that when we did that.
No.
So have you looked at that? I mean, is this something you're going to, it doesn't impact the things that have already been already been approved?
This sign is pretty much the sole purpose of it is to make sure that people know where the training center is, so that they can identify it, so that they can. It's more of a, it's done in a very professional fashion, but it's really for identity.
Yeah, I understand the purpose of it. We have a casino site committee, which looks at things like this, and this did not come before the casino site committee. We have a committee specifically for the casino site, and I would have thought this would have gone to that committee before it came here, so it could be looked at in the context of everything happening on the site. Did you consider doing that?
No, we didn't. And,
I do just want to clarify, this site is not part of the casino overlay district.
Okay.
This site was specifically excluded as part of that. So the signage regulations that you guys review for the casino is not part of this particular parcel. So this is really a separate use from the casino, the larger casino overlay district. So
no, okay, I appreciate that info, but it is going to face 91, and nobody who's looking at it is going to know which parcel is which, or that this parcel is different from that parcel. My issue, I don't have a big issue with the sign, I just have a little bit of an issue with the process, because we have a committee that is set up specifically for this. And I don't believe, I'm on that committee, I don't believe there was any information to go through that. And we did so much on the MGM signage in general, it just seems logical that this would have gone to the same place so we could look at the whole site, as one total package. I'm not, at this point, going to make a recommendation to refer it to committee, but I would like to hear if anyone else has any issues with it or anything. I am somewhat puzzled by having 3 signs on the one building. Will they be consistent with how they look? Berkshire Bank's already on there. MGM is going to go in the middle, and Colvest is to the right. Will they be somewhat consistent in how they look, or are they different colors, or are they going to be lit the same way, et cetera?
The two existing sets of logos that are located on the building today on the left.
Could you speak louder, please?
Sorry. The 2 sets of letters that you see today on the building do have a backlight on it. They are also face lit. The MGM is strictly just going to go with the backlighting So you'll just see the glow around the letters at night, which will black out the letters, similar to the representation that's here. So yes, to answer your question, the letters will be consistent in size and in lighting with the other
It will
signage.
be, and not in color. What color is this going to be?
Again, the Berkshire and the Colvos light white on the back, and I believe the bank shines green as a face, and I don't think the Colvos has color to it.
So there will be 3 different colors, the 3 sign. Is that?
No, I'm sorry. I think you're misunderstanding, but the
Berkshire Bank is
the
green.
backlighting, we'll simplify it. The backlighting of each one of these logos are all white.
The backlighting, but the signs itself. Berkshire Bank sign green.
Berkshire Bank is green as it's rendered. MGM is black, and the Colvos Group is also black with an accent of green in the C.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Williams.
Counselor, may I respond to his question with regard to process? May I respond? The process here, perhaps maybe through inadvertence, we did not. I agree with you that this is part of the whole process, and whether it's in the casino overlay site or not is relevant, but you're right, there should be some consideration of the overall signage in that regard. And this is something through inadvertence. I think basically the process here was the lease was negotiated. MGM said it would be good to be able to identify us as being in that building for purposes of prospective employees. And then they hired a sign company, Craig's company, to do it without, apparently, and he has moved forward with the application. He's met with the citizens group, and but it was inadvertence that we didn't come to the Casino Oversight Committee. If we had, we would have brought it up at the last meeting when we visited.
Yeah, I understand that it just probably came up and it's a logical thing, et cetera. But I just would like, if this gets voted on tonight or whether it goes to committee tonight, I would like to suggest that anything in the future of any kind that comes relative to that site, go to the Casino Site Committee or talk to Councilor Fenton, who's the chair of that, just so we have a total picture kind of thing. Thank you.
Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. I plan to vote for this tonight, but I think Councilor Allen makes a very valid point. There's a process that should have been followed, it wasn't. What's going to be in this building? I'm more interested in what's on the 3rd floor. It went right by me. It's a resource center or?
Initial human resources and a training facility.
They're talking to Mike, Frank, they can't hit, attorney.
Initial human resources and a training facility. Hiring, people will be coming in and hiring, interviewing, and training.
I'm more interested in that. I hope it goes through because I'm always interested in the job, economic development, diversity. That's what it's about. And I want to make sure that the people from Springfield benefit from this MGM project. The state's working to eliminate record checks on those blue-collar jobs that don't handle the money, custodians, greeters, and that kind of stuff. That's going to work itself out. We know that MGM is hiring now. It's a pre-hirement stage right now, pre-employment, to get folks ready. I just hope that under your leadership that they continue to vet the people from Springfield and that they become part of this big windfall. It's very dicey at this time. There's a lot of contracts that are being out that folks in the city don't even know about. I'm not blaming you, that's not your job, attorney, but there are contracts that are being out, snow removal, all kind of things that MGM's putting out that folks in the majority of the city don't even know about. That just, I mean, not knocking you, I'll take that up with another day. That's got to change. Because what's going to happen, you're going to have all these contracts going to be all out-of-town people. And that's what's lining up now. Not your fault, Attorney Fitzgerald. You have nothing to do with that. I'm just sending a signal to MGM that we need to pay attention because I'm going to tell you something. It's very, very important. But I do plan to vote for this because I think it needs to move forward. And I want to thank Frank Colacino for opening up his 3rd floor and working with the city and MGM to make sure this project goes forward. Because I'm going to tell you, we need a good, strong project. I mean, Mohegan Sun and Foxwood is a very strong project. And we need to get all behind MGM and go forward. They have a strong, strong product down there.
I was down there Saturday night. They have a very strong product, and they're coming on. They're not playing. They're building another facility there. So, Frank, we're going to work with you and work with MGM to make sure we put up the best possible product we can to head off the competition. They're coming.
Any other questions from the council? Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure whether this is a question for the tenant or the landlord or the sign company, but what is the purpose of the sign? What's the goal?
Primarily so that people know that the MGM office for human resources and employee training is in that building
and
not somewhere else.
But so this building won't be welcoming to people that just come in off the street. You'd have to have an appointment or work there.
Or becoming, I mean, I would guess they might be, if there's ads and people might come there to get in line to apply for a job.
I see. So I don't have any issue with the design of the sign. My concern is predominantly over confusion for what's going on in that premises, particularly because it's right next to this big casino that we've got, and parking constraints with the several thousand parking lot garage that is currently in construction and I think completed, and the open air spaces that are available at Mr. Colacino's parcel. So I'm concerned about that type of foot traffic that might be resulted inadvertently, particularly if that's not the goal of the sign or of the landlord or of the tenant. But they know better about that than I do. So the only question that I would have in light of that concern is what the parking lot is currently used for, and what the open air lot, and what the future of that open air lot is. Because I remember that we rezoned this parcel as a part of the casino review process to be a higher use zoning district. I think it was, I'll defer to Phil, but I think it was Business C. And as a result, there's certain parking stipulations that come along with that. Additionally, it's my recollection that after that, the property owner came in and asked for a particular type of dispensation to offer parking on this facility for non-tenants. And so I just want to make sure that before we approve this sign design, that everybody's crystal clear on, how many spaces are there, what they're going to be utilized for, and how this sign may help or hinder that goal. So Phil, I guess the two questions to you are, when we rezoned this site, did it trigger any additional parking permissions or burdens? And was there a second permission that we gave to this landowner to specifically allow him to lease space on this premises for parking spaces?
Well, the first question, Business C actually lessens your parking requirement because Business C doesn't require off-street parking for business uses.
Okay.
So in the downtown or any area that's zoned Business C, you're not required to have off-street parking. It's my understanding, although I would defer to Mr. Colacino, I believe he does have a permit with the city clerk to lease a certain number of spaces. I don't know what those are. Obviously, this use would trigger, well, again, it doesn't technically trigger, but, if you're renting the space, I would assume the owner would want parking on there. But under our zoning, Business C does not require, unlike Business A, which if you're doing a restaurant, you need, one space for every 1,000 square feet. Business C does not require that unless you're doing residential uses. So,
Can somebody from the applicant or the landlord speak to what the parking lot is used for and what the intent is for the parking lot in the future with this development?
The intent of
Maybe
the
Mr.
parking lot
Colacino.
is to have people park there.
Name and address for the record, please.
Frank Colacino, 1259 East Columbus Avenue, Springfield. Repeat your question, Councilor?
So the current parking situation for this facility, what is it? What do you use the spaces for? Do you lease any of the spaces? And what are your future plans for those spaces?
The current use of those parking spaces, I think we lease probably around 50 spaces to outside people. We have a permit to do that. and the parking has been adequate. We have about 125 or 30 parking spaces there. There's more than ample parking spaces for the buildings that are there. We've never had an overflow of parking. We police our lot very carefully. In terms of our future, once we lease that building that's empty, we'll probably curtail that number of spaces on the site, but that's not for sure at this point. We'll see what the need is, but at this point, that's all our current plans are.
How many spaces do you have on the entire site? You lease
the entire site, about 125, 130.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And by the way, it's ample. Typically in an office building setting, you usually, or a retail setting, you usually have 5 spaces per 1,000 square feet of building. There's roughly there about 29,000 square feet. So it's adequate.
Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. Yeah, Frank, Berkshire Bank took over Hamden Bank or whatever a year ago or whatever it was. And did that impact the use of Berkshire Bank in that building? Is there still, I don't know if some stuff moved over to Harrison Avenue or if
Berkshire Bank is still there on the first floor, which is why their signs are still up. But the office portion of Berkshire Bank did move into the old Hamden Bank headquarters, which left the space open for MGM.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the petitioner? Before I close the public hearing, are there any other questions for the petitioner? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Any final comments, motions, and/or amendments? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
On approving the special permit, Councilor Edwards. Yes. Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Rook, absent Councilor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Marcus Williams.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Ash.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Twigs.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Shea.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Bud Williams. Yes. Yes, Councilor Ramos.
Yes, more than sufficient. Permit is approved. On the reasons.
The specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. The use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. To incorporate this planning staff analysis into the decision as the basis of finding.
All in favor of the reasons say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Councilor Ash.
Mr. President, Attorney Fitzgerald has another item on the agenda, item 7. Could we take that out of order?
Without objection, item number 7, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 7 is a petition to change the zoning at the property known as 77 Wilcox Street from Residence C to Business B.
Thank you, councilors, for the courtesy. My name is Frank Fitzgerald, attorney representing 180 Redevelopment, LLC. My office is at Monarch Place in Springfield. This is a request to change the zone of 77 Wilcox Street from Residence C to Business B. It's a 4,900 square foot parcel formerly occupied by a house, and this is a part of a parcel that is being readied for development, and this particular small piece will help enable and enhance the ability to develop this parcel on East Columbus Avenue, which is the former home of Albano's Market. And this is, again, a spin-off of the MGM development, which is contemplated in the host community agreement. In fact, it is documented in the host community agreement that complementary development should be encouraged in and around the casino site. The owners are third-generation business people from Springfield, and the planning department has done a good job of actually outlining the fact that it will not be, it's not detrimental to the neighborhood, and that they will get a further look at it when plans are put together for the actual development that's going to occur there.
So anyone who would like to speak in favor of the zone change, please step forward. So again, if there's anyone who would like to speak in favor of the zone change, please step forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition, please step forward. Any questions for the petitioner? Councilor Allen.
Could we just have Mr. Dromey come out and answer? Thanks, Phil. If you could just talk about your feelings towards this proposed zone change, and is it consistent with the neighborhood? Is it different? Is it that sort of thing?
Well, as I note in my report, we're always a little leery when we talk about extending commercial zoning into residential districts, but it is consistent with the surrounding Business B. The majority of the properties around that are all currently zoned Business B, as well as most of the south end commercial areas. Even some of the residential areas that you find on the side streets tend to be zoned Business B. So we do feel it's consistent with what's around it, and I don't believe it would be, as we note in the report, that there's a significant impact to the neighborhood. So one of the things I did talk about was obviously there is going to be a home left adjacent to this. So when the site plans come in, we certainly want to make sure that that particular residence is going to be properly buffered from the particular use, whatever that final use is. Under our zoning, I believe there's a requirement of and don't quote me on this, but I think it's a 10-foot buffer or 7-foot buffer that's going to be required along that residential house as well. So that was the main concern that I had, was we just need to make sure that remaining residential home is properly buffered.
But the majority of the...
Yeah, all the properties that surround it
are Business
are Business A. Excuse me, Business B.
Okay, thanks.
Any final questions from the council? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Any final comments or amendments? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
On approving the zone change, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rook, absent. Councilor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Walsh. Yes. Yes. Councilor Marcus Williams. Yes. Yes. Councilor Ash. Yes. Councilor Twigs. Yes. Councilor Shea. Yes. Yes. Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Bud Williams. Yes. Yes. Councilor Ramos.
Yes, more than sufficient. Zone change is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Items 3 and 4 have been continued. Item number 5, Mr. Clerk.
Items number 5 and 6 are connected. Item 5 is to allow the reuse of an existing structure at 391 Hancock Street. Item number 6 is to change the zoning of the property at 391 Hancock Street from Residence B to Residence C.
Council Fenton.
Mr. President, I need to recuse myself from this matter as my employer is counsel to the applicant for both matters.
Council Fenton has recused himself. We will, without objection, take both matters in the same hearing. 20 minutes for the petitioner, 20 minutes for the opposition, 5-minute rebuttal for each side. Name and address for the record.
I have to recuse myself.
Councilor Gomez has recused himself as well. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Ellen Fryman, 1441 Main Street, Springfield, representing the petitioner.
Hi, Amy, excuse me, Amy Chambers, 261 Oak Grove Avenue, the petitioner.
H.C. Brookings LLC was the winning bidder of a request for proposals put out by the city of Springfield for the Brookings School, which was damaged by the hurricane. And so we proposed to redevelop the property for housing, multifamily housing, and it's necessary that we obtain a zone change so that we can develop it for that use. The property is, so we're looking right now, it's currently a Residence B, and we're looking to change it to Residence C. This is not spot zoning. I have a map that shows all the zoning in the area, and actually it has everything in the area, so a little bit of everything, but it will not be the only Residence C in the area. It has been supported by the planning department, and we went to the planning board as required for a zone change, and we got unanimous support from the planning board for the zone change. Oh, one other thing, we did go to Maple High Six Corners Neighborhood Council. We have a letter of support from the council.
Thank you.
We can
Councilor
share.
Twigs.
You did say hurricane. Wasn't it the tornado
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it was a tornado. Thank you. We've got hurricanes recently, so
Councilor Marcus Williams.
thank you for correcting me.
I was just wondering, is the intention to make it into market rate or?
It will have some market rate units in it,
be
but
next income?
yeah, which are close to the same rents, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, as part of the response to the RFP that we came and had heard by you all earlier in the summer, we have stayed true to that pro forma. We're planning on maintaining the same number of units proposed, and within that, 10% of the units are market rate units.
Well, I want to commend you on including that aspect. I think it's a housing trend nowadays to include mixed income, housing within low income communities, and I think that the Old Hill community will definitely prosper because of that, especially within that immediate area. So thank you.
Yeah, HC Brookings is an affiliate of Better Homes Inc., which is now Home City Development. It's done a lot of redevelopment in the community in Springfield and is very reputable. So it will be a beautiful project.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please step forward. If there's anyone else who would like to speak in favor, please step forward. Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Please step forward. Councilor Williams.
You're doing a good job. Tell me a little bit about your package to hire residents from the neighborhood and making sure folks who live in these neighborhoods have access to gainful employment, because that's real important, because if they can't work in their own neighborhood, they'll never get a chance to Wilbraham and the Long Meadows of the world.
About the programming that you do there?
Sure. So absolutely. So with regard to, I'm sorry.
Talking to Mike.
Sure.
Yeah.
With regard to the construction of the building itself, we work with contractors who, as part of our tax credit projects, are required to maintain a % of both local hires and minority and women businesses and contractors. We're currently trending at about, the requirement is 25% women businesses, minority-owned businesses, and Section 3 hires. We're currently trending at about 35% on our projects. And additionally, within that, we require that 30% of worker hours be local hire hours. So we do have that on the construction side. As far as the programming side, we have a resident engagement program and staff who work directly with our residents to apply for, or rather around job training, around other issues related to stability and food access and things like that. And we'll continue to offer the same services to the residents of this new development as well.
Yeah, I want to commend you and your organization, because when you ride by Oak Grove or over on what's that, Acorn Street or whatever it is, you can see folks who look like me working in those communities. It's a tribute to you and your organization, to Tom, who really pushes that and stresses that, because there's many other projects in this city. They work on these streets every single day, and you never see any residents or very few residents who live in the city. Very important. So I want to take it back to Tom. He's doing a great organization. I mean, really, you're playing by the rules like it should be, sharing the diversity of this city and making sure folks are getting jobs and making money so they can pay bills and live like everybody else. So thank you. I'll continue to support you. That's a great project down there, and you're doing a terrific job too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. If you were to get approval tonight, what would you say the time span would be before this project would be online?
We have our financing to obtain, so I would say at least like 2 years, would you say?
Hopefully sooner.
We're going to acquire the property sooner than, as soon as we finish the permitting and we get a commitment for financing, we will close and purchase the property, and then the construction will have to take place, and it's a pretty large project, so it could take some time.
We're planning on submitting the pre-application for the one-stop in this round, and provided it is accepted, then we'll submit a one-stop application for tax credit funding in February. So just dependent on whether we actually obtain tax credits for the project, will obviously make a difference in terms of whether we're able to proceed with it in 1 year, 2 years, what have you. We're also seeking historic tax credits for the project. So we've already submitted part ones, which have been approved, and we are going to be submitting part 2 applications in January.
So you're looking at a year and a half anyway, or
Yes.
maybe 2 years?
Yes. In the meantime, we've explored several options for securing the site a bit better. We've met with the fire department and had all the fire systems tested. We have also met with the name of the company that provides the alarm system escapes me, but we've met with them as well, and we have discussed ways in which we can improve upon the alarm system. So we intend to do that immediately upon closing on the property itself, and we will additionally be putting cameras outside of the building in the rear, and obtaining the lease from the city for Eversource for the floodlights that are on the property as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Councilor Twiggs.
The work that they're doing in the Maple Heights, Six Corners area. But I've had a chance to review a lot of their work, and they do very, very good work. And I thank Councilman Williams for bringing up the fact that they do hire from within, and they rent up to tenants from the general area. Tom needs to know that we are fully in support of this project. At least the vote will demonstrate that in a little while. I think other thing, I don't know that you mentioned how many units. I was under the impression there was going to be about 45 units going.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's correct?
Yes.
How
We're not
many?
going to be, it's not going to be more than 45. It could be adjusted, so we didn't want to be,
Approximately 45. How many are 1 and 2 bedrooms? What's the breakup?
I left those numbers tonight. However, we are planning on having 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units.
4 bedrooms?
No, I'm sorry, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units.
Yeah, I didn't think of it.
Yeah, no 4 bedrooms. 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. I want to say that about 16 of those units are 2 bedrooms, and then the vast majority of the units are 2 and 3 bedroom units. I want to say there's probably about 10 1 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you're meeting the handicap requirements.
Yes. Yes, we'll have handicap units and sensory accessible units as well.
Thank you.
Councilor Allen.
Just reflecting on what was just said, just so you know, not that it's a problem with me, but it doesn't say 1 bedrooms in here. It just says the units would be a mix of 2 and 3 bedroom units. So this needs to be, if that's true that there'll be some 1 bedrooms, this needs to be fixed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, Exhibit 5.A states that the unit will be containing no more than 26 units. Do we need an amendment for that?
That's the report from the planning board, so you wouldn't be amending the report.
It's supposed to be, the special permit is containing more than 20. So that's what that's under our new zoning ordinance, that's what triggers the special permit. If you're doing a new use, it's 10 units, but if you're reusing an existing building, the threshold for a special permit is triggered when you exceed 26 units. So that's how that's written up. So.
Are you talking about the units or the amount of the room or the amount of the bedrooms?
We need an amendment for that?
No.
Does it say more than 26?
I have it right here.
It does say more than 26. Okay. All right. Any other questions from the council?
Nothing that I have, but if they have.
Before I close the public hearing, are there any final questions from the council? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Any final comments, motions, or amendments? Councilor Edwards.
I'd just like to assure my council colleagues that the Maple High Six Corner Neighborhood Council has vetted this project. We've been involved with this potential use for more than a couple of years. This is the second time that Mr. Kagelman's organization has attempted to acquire this building. We are wholeheartedly in support of it. In fact, the Neighborhood Council voted unanimously, and we have written multiple letters of support throughout this entire process. We're very comfortable with the number of units and the proposed use. Mr. Kagelman and his organization has a history of community engagement. We expect this unit will be no different than other well-run residential properties that he has across the city, and I stand in total support of this being passed tonight.
Thank you. Any other final comments? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk, for the special permit.
On approving the special permit, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rook, absent. Councilor Gomez, recused. Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Marcus Williams.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Ash. Yes. Councilor Twiggs. Yes. Councilor Shea.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Fenton, recused. Councilor Hurst. Yes. Councilor Bud Williams. Yes. Councilor Ramos.
Yes, more than sufficient. Special permit is approved. Councilor Edwards on the reasons.
The specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. The use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. To incorporate the planning staff analysis into the decision as the basis of the findings.
All in favor of the reasons say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. On the zone change, Mr. Clerk.
On approving the zone change, Councilor Edwards. Yes. Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rook, absent. Councilor Gomez, recused. Councilor Walsh. Yes. Councilor Marcus Williams. Yes. Councilor Ash. Yes. Councilor Twiggs. Yes. Councilor Shea.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Fenton, recused. Councilor Hurst. Yes. Councilor Bud Williams. Yes. Councilor Ramos.
Yes, more than sufficient. Zone change is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The last item on tonight's agenda is a request for a zone change at the property known as Northside Wilbraham Road from Commercial P to Residence B.
Twenty minutes for the petitioner, 20 minutes for the opposition, 5-minute rebuttal. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Adionaida Wanyama, residing at 152 Corcoran Boulevard. I'm here with my husband, Joseph, who will speak on my behalf. Good evening. My name is Adionaida Wanyama, residing at 152 Corcoran Boulevard. I'm here with my husband, Joseph, who will speak on my behalf. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. My name is Joseph. We reside at the same address. We did bid on a commercial lot known as NS Wilbraham Road, and we were the highest bidder at a city auction. So we were hoping to use the commercial lot for whatever purposes that we had planned, only to find out that it's supposed to be commercial P, parking for residential. The commercial P has a lot of requirements from the city, and we were having problems meeting those requirements, so we went back to the planning department trying to find out what options we had. So we found out that it was actually initially a residential lot, and somebody had applied and changed it to a commercial lot. So given our circumstances that we don't have a business next to the lot or a house, it became a good idea to petition the city to set it back to a residential lot. So that's the process we are in, and we have put up plans for a two-family house whose character is the same as the houses in the area, and it's our hope that the city will approve the petition.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Please step forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Please step forward. Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Joey, can you just, because I know, sorry, pronounce your name, is it Leon?
Yeah.
I know we definitely have to email
Yeah.
this process, so I'm Marcus Williams. But I just wanted to also, Phil, can you just tell us how we got to this point right here, and what, in your opinion, why this should be approved, or in your estimation?
Well, as I note in my report, back in this was a property that was taken through the city's tax title process. It was auctioned back in 2013, and at that time, the potential buyer came into the city council and got a zone change because he wanted to use it for commercial property for the business that's across the street. Okay. So he went through a pretty lengthy process of getting plans drawn and getting a petitioning to get it approved to be rezoned. When it finally came down to moving forward, he never did. So as with most auction properties, you have a time limit to act on what you're going to do. He did not do that. The city took the property back, and it went back out for re-auction. At that time, unfortunately, I think the petitioners were under the impression it could be used for a commercial use, but commercial P, as the council knows, is only for parking. So they originally wanted to put a commercial building on there, but you're really limited in what you can do with commercial P. It's basically parking. So in their discussions with them, they determined to go back. It was originally zoned Residence B. At the time, it was changed to commercial P, and now they're just asking to go back to the original zone of Residence B. As part of the auction process, they are required to submit plans. I included those plans in the report. I'm actually very pleased with the house that they're proposing. It's what we try and do when we sell auction properties, to make sure that the house is in context with the neighborhood, and this certainly does. So we're very pleased with it, and I do believe it's probably less. This is less of an impact than probably the commercial parking lot would have been, but so we certainly have no objection.
Thank you. I would also like to say, too, to the petitioners that I always appreciate when developers take the initiative to reach out to some of the councilors before coming, in the chambers before us. It makes things a lot more easier. I know you probably did not have an opportunity to go before the Pine Point Community Council, and I think that's because for the last 2 months, their schedule has been changed due to the election, as well as the candidate forum. So I have driven past this property, and I realized that it seems like a great space, and I do have the hopes that you will redevelop it into its intended purpose, and I think you'll do that well. So I do rise in support of this, and I would encourage my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Councilor Shea.
Can I just ask, because it says north side, it's a lot, roughly where on Wilbraham Road is this?
It's on the corner of Dearborn and Wilbraham Road. Well, yeah, but they made several attempts to get in touch. I believe Upper Hill is.
If I can help you out, Mr. Jovine, Upper Hill honestly is they're not that active with their civic association. So the next step would probably have to go to the Pine Point Community Council. Typically, when things have gone before Upper Hill, the Pine Point Community Council has handled some of those. Whether it's a special permit or. I'm sorry.
My question was this: one time ever Residence B?
Yes. This was Residence B when it was originally auctioned, and then rezoned to Commercial P, and now they're asking to rezone it back to Residence B.
Asking this because I grew up on Dearborn.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't picture whether it was a commercial property or a corner.
Yeah. No, it was always residentially zoned.
Any other questions from the council? Before I close the public hearing, are there any final questions from the council? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Any final comments? Roll call, Mr. Clerk. No, Councilor Twigs.
Essentially, what they're looking for is to change the zoning from P to B.
That's correct. It is a zone change from commercial P to residence B.
Yeah. And with resident B, they indicated that they wanted to build a duplex house.
Correct.
Have you seen the plan?
Yes.
And they're in our?
Yes, they are. They actually submitted 2 sets of plans, and we've had the discussion that one is appropriate, the other one wasn't, so they're going to go with the one that's more of a front-facing gable, so they are included in the, and as I mentioned, as part of the auction process, they're required to submit those plans and get them approved.
Oh, they bought it through an auction?
Correct. They bought it through the tax title auction.
Okay.
Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
On approving the zone change, Councilor Edwards. Yes. Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Rook. Absent, Councilor Gomez. Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Marcus Williams.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Ash.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Twigs.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Shea.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Finn.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Bud Williams.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Ramos.
Yes, more than sufficient. Zone change is approved. Is there any further business before the council?
There's no further business.
All right, seeing none, our next meeting will be November 13th. Best of luck to all of you on November 7th. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.